Some reaction the day after Warrington inflicted the first defeat in the Super League on Wigan. Warrington 16, Wigan 10 last night. Um, Certainly not a classic game, not one that will live in the memory for too long, but Warrington came away with the win. Should have probably won by a lot more than just the 6 points. It finished 2 tries apiece. But as Sean Wayne said in his post-match interviews last night, the scoreline flattered Wigan rather than anything else. Warrington should have scored a lot more points, and Wigan just weren't at the races at all. The 2 tries that we scored, obviously the second try came in pretty much a last play of the game from Tony Clubb. Overall, a disappointing night for Wigan. Can you read too much into it? I'm not sure. It was way off the Salford game and way off even the whole game, the amount of chances that we bombed in that whole game. So the optimism has still got to be there. We just weren't there within the fluidity of the attack, just wasn't there. The amount of times that we got to the last tackle and looks a bit clueless, really. It looks a bit sort of 2017 Wigan rather than the 2018 Wigan that we've seen in those first 2 rounds of Super League. George Williams getting the ball on the last tackle, not quite knowing what to do with it. There was lots of different things, I think, that affected that. And I think it was just a case of if Wigan could have got the win, get the win and move on. It wasn't to be. It wasn't about the performance last night. Overall, disappointing, obviously, to drop the 2 points, but we move on to the Widnes game next week. A couple of points, I think, just to look at. I'd be interested to get other people's opinions on this. One of the big decisions that Sean Wayne made was obviously putting John Bateman into centre last night. Dan Sargent missed out on the game through a shoulder injury. We spoke about Dan Sargent's form on Wigan Fan TV last week, probably criticising his form, and I think Dan Sargent would be the first person to admit that his performances in the first 2 games and the friendly against South and probably the friendly against Leigh were poor by his standards. This is a guy that, when he first came to Wigan, ended that season as a test centre for England. He's got the quality. And we replaced him last night with the person that played at centre for England. The difference being, I think, last night was we played him on the right centre. I think for England he was playing left centre. And it showed last night when every time John Bateman got the ball, the attack kind of broke down. He stepped back into centre field. Tom Davies didn't have a chance really to be released on that side. And we just didn't threaten them at all down that side. And John Bateman's not a centre. He's a second row, he's a 13, he's a middle. It doesn't really matter where he is, but he's a forward, he's not a centre. We don't know the extent of Dan Sargent's injury. For the amount of criticism that he's got, I think he still deserves to go back into that side as a centre, and then you've got a problem who you drop from the pack to make way for John Bateman, but I think that's a really good problem to have. I think John Bateman, first game back, did as well as he could do, but he was in an alien position and the attack was poor, to start with. So hopefully next week we'll have some options at centre rather than John Bateman, Dan Sargent, but there, even Craig Mullen maybe, if he impresses in training again, might get a start against Widnes next week. But time will tell. I guess the other person that I want to sort of briefly mention is Liam Marshall. Now, Liam Marshall, he scored again last night. Scored another great finish last night. But I have a theory about Liam Marshall that for every 2 tries he scores, he concedes one. I think he costs Wigan a try for every 2 that he scores. Last night, his defence under the kick was good up until a point where it was bad, and then Warrington scored from it. We saw last year Hull peppered him in the Challenge Cup final. I think he's improved on that side of his game, but I think last night we saw a little bit of a clip back to his defence. And listen, Liam Marshall's still a young kid. He kept Joe Burgess out of the side last night, but I just wonder whether his performance defensively last night has created a pathway back for Joe Burgess into the side. And again, it's good pressure to have Don Manfredi coming back. Obviously, Tom Davies, I think, has nailed that number 2 shirt, and there's nobody taking that away from him anytime soon. So Liam Marshall, Joe Burgess and Don Manfredi eventually competing for that wing spot. I think Liam Marshall last night was a fantastic finish, but again, defensively for me, that's a concern that he's got to work on. And I think he did well in the first couple of games when he was tested by Salford, he was tested by Mark Sneed over in Wollongong and did well. Last night, there was just a little bit of 2017, perhaps, defensive issues that came back into Liam Marshall's game. Hopefully that'll disappear again. And he's a fantastic talent, but I do worry about that, and I do think that for every 2 tries he scores, he possibly lets one in. So hopefully that's an improvement. Two players I think that stood out last night, and I think they've stood out in every single game so far this season: Ben Flower and Tony Clubb. Ben Flower coming back from a season-ending injury last year. Tony Clubb coming back from major surgery last year to even play rugby league again is absolutely incredible. Tony Clubb scored 2 tries in 3 games in Super League. Scored at Salford. Our forwards seem to be scoring tries. Obviously, Sutton got over in Wollongong as well. They were immense last night. I think Tony Clubb's defence is absolutely incredible. I know there was a little sort of scuffle with Ben Westwood about his challenge on Declan Patton, but I think Declan Patton's reaction showed everything. It wasn't late. The one on Tyrone Roberts probably was, but it was, he attacks the halfbacks and makes sure that his presence is felt. The meters that Flower and Clubb made last night, again, were very good, and I think they really stepped up and probably showed what we were missing last year, with a lack of depth due to injuries in the forwards. And Flower and Clubb, I thought, went really well last night. So overall, a disappointing night for Wigan. I think give credit to Warrington, give credit to Rob, who's our Warrington fan that joined us on Wigan Fan TV. Everything he said pretty much came true. Tyrone Roberts, if he played, he said Warrington would win. He did. He talks about Tyrone Roberts' dummy and sidestep. We saw that a couple of times last night. He said Tyrone Roberts would put bombs up for Sam Tompkins, and he did that straight away. Then he picked up that little injury to his knee, which perhaps stopped the kicking game too much from Roberts. But credit to Warrington, credit to Rob. I think like everything that he said midweek came true. We wish them the best of luck for the rest of the season, and they certainly look like they'll be there or thereabouts come the top 4, because defensively Warrington were much better than what we've seen in previous years. The attack isn't quite there yet, I guess. But that'll come in time, I'm sure, as that was only Tyrone Roberts' second game for Warrington last night. So all in all, disappointing night at the office for Wigan, but we move on. Widnes next week. And in the run-up to the game next week, on Monday, I'll be joined by Martin Afire, obviously ex-Widnes player, ex-Wigan player, legends of both clubs. Martin Afire, MBE, will be joining us on Wigan Fan TV on Monday afternoon. That'll be live. And obviously later on, we'll put it on YouTube, and it'll be on Facebook for everybody to watch. So if you go onto our Facebook page, you'll see the videos there ready for Monday afternoon. If anybody's got any questions that they want to ask Martin, just put them in the comments box now, and we'll read through them and put as many questions to Martin as we can. I've got about 15 minutes of his time on Monday, so we want to get as many questions in that short period of time as we can. So disappointing night at the office for Wigan last night. Onwards and upwards, Widnes next weekend, and hopefully we'll have a good attacking performance and 2 points to go with that as well. So thanks for watching a little bit of a short match reaction to Warrington's 16-10 victory over Wigan last night. Thank you.